what are some of the challenges or changes to the offering public wireless?
I'd say some of the biggest differences is the adoption and what people are using wireless for. It started for, oh, free Wi-Fi. This is great. I can check my email on the road or at a hotspot or at a cafe. And now there's an expectation that you're always connected. You can stream video, upload, download, and there's really, the user is expecting it to be perfect all the time, every time, and that's what we strive for. And I think we help our customers provide this as a service.
So with that, when you talk about the users expecting perfection, when we deploy these large scale or even Wi-Fi networks within a city hall or within a hospital, what have you, it's always the access point, right? I mean, you hear a lot, the Wi-Fi doesn't work, but it's a pretty complex system, correct? You want to kind of share some of the horror stories or some things that we find, and especially in like high density capacity environments or public, just some things you sometimes run into?
We definitely see, we work with a lot of customers who, they have a wired background. So they think, they just don't know the nuances of the RF interference and capacity. Physics is what physics is. There's only so much air time to go around. And a lot of the customers that we work with, they take their, wired topology and network background, and they expect, oh, if it's wireless, it just magically, it just needs to work. And the analysis of, how many clients to how many access points and where they are, they don't often have that expertise. And so it's, SmartWAVE has been able to fill in the gaps and help them overcome some challenges. Some of the changes that I've seen over the years is the adoption, because everyone's using Wi-Fi, everyone's got a hotspot, everyone's tethering from their phone. The noise floor is just increasing over time in the frequencies, and it's been interesting to see. I mean, we do some scanning, drive testing and passive testing, and it collects all the SSIDs. And it's incredible in such a small area, driving down a street in whether you're in a downtown or out in the suburbs, just how many SSIDs you pick up. I mean, I have these databases full of thousands and thousands of entries, and it's incredible. Just how many networks are out there.
It is amazing. I'd say that's one of the things I've kind of really come to appreciate from from you and your team, and just the design process that you go through behind that, especially in the outdoor environment. I mean, fixed channel planning, fixed channel planning around 3 radios is one thing, right? Fixed channel planning around 3,000 radios is an environment, is a totally different thing. So, I mean, have there been like best practices developed, and what kind of changes do you have occurred, like with the engineering role in these networks?
Well, one of the lessons that we've learned over the years is the upfront defining the requirements of the network and what the expectation is paramount. Because just, oh, this building needs Wi-Fi. That's not good enough. You need to define how many users, where are they, what are they going to be doing? Are they all FaceTiming and streaming or checking their email? And narrowing in on those requirements leads us to finding the right solution, into whether it's AP placement, AP capacity. That's one thing that I've always loved about SmartWAVE, is that we are vendor agnostic, and we let the scenario lead us to the right choice for the customer. And often, it starts off with, just asking questions and trying to push the customer into really determining, sometimes helping them determine what is it you're trying to do. But that defining the requirements, whether it's an outdoor point-to-point link or a Wi-Fi, coverage for clients inside or outside a building, is definitely the starting point. And I think customers, their knowledge level has been increasing. We definitely, work with some very astute customers that know exactly what they want, and it's been a pleasure to work with.
So with with being vendor agnostic, right? Even that being said, I know we have some favorites, right? I mean, at the end of the day, right? We want the client experience to be a good experience, right? And I know one of those favorites is Ruckus Wi-Fi. We've been working with Ruckus since 2009. Can you kind of share some of the things that we find in that product set and why we use it?
No, absolutely. Ruckus is absolutely one of my favorites. And we probably use in 80-90% of our deployments. And it's usually when we don't, it's because the customer they have to match their current environment. The easy answer is of course the BeamFlex technology is unparalleled in the outdoor space and as well as the indoor space, but it's much more easy to see in the outdoor space because you can see, because of the environmental differences, signals bouncing off stuff. One of the first Ruckus radios I ever had, I got a kit and I brought it home and I set it up and I was mapping out and trying to see what the throughput will be in my home lab. And sure enough, I walked to the end of the driveway and I saw, the signal level is when you first connect, maybe 1 or 2 bars on the phone. And then after you connect, you can see the beam forming go to 5 bars and
wow.
See throughput tests to prove that, it's not just marketing hype. It actually works.
Wow.
And that was, that was years ago. And now, you can see that in a dense environment like a convention center or an airport on, just looking at everyone streaming and downloading with hundreds of devices and log into the smart zone to prove the actual throughput. And now, of course, we have APs that have a 5 gig wired backhaul, and they're using it.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see.
And when you talk about that, like some of those environments, as far as like the challenging environments, right? I mean, eventually, the technology, Wi-Fi, and we do a lot of Wi-Fi along with other wireless technologies, but with respect to Wi-Fi, it is unlicensed spectrum, so you don't have the same control that Carrie would have over the technology. But knowing that eventually Wi-Fi will break, what kind of best practices do you look at for, say, designing in a convention center like the San Jose Convention Center? We've had some crazy kind of events there that would really hammer a network and just destroy it, right?
Yep.
Based on the usage, right? You want to talk to some of those events and how we went about some of the things, or your team went about some of these things?
One of the big initial, I'd say not game changing, but changes that we did to the traditional design was we actually used outdoor radios inside in the big exhibit halls of the convention center. So this exhibit hall, you can have thousands of people in this exhibit hall, and by using an outdoor radio that was a sectorized radio with a 30-degree beam hanging from the rafters, we were able to reduce the co-channel interference because, as in Wi-Fi, there's only so many channels. So adding more radios, you hit a ceiling where even if you've used all the 5 gig channels, there's only so much capacity but by having the sectorized antennas, the cone that was coming down from the ceiling is pretty limited to the area on the floor. And we found that was the way to get to the next level, so that when these corporate events, previously the big Apples and NVIDIAs and would come in and bring in tripods and mount APs everywhere. And instead they're using the infrastructure, the APs that we deployed in the convention center, which is unlike other big productions where normally these big convention centers, they're dragging their feet on the latest and greatest technology.
Yeah, that's great. So you basically forced RF isolation,
exactly,
to free up more channels. That's fantastic.
And on the 2.4 side, we abandoned it. we said, hey, if
Yeah.
it's well, now it's
3
20.
channels. That's it.
You should have a device that supports 5 gig. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
So, and I look forward to the next iteration, open up even more frequencies.